Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do a little update, well, kind of big update on how I'm getting on with the contraceptive implant, because last month was a year since I had it fitted and I realised that I talked about it quite a lot at the time, like when I was thinking about getting it done, and like the day I got it done I was talking about it and I was saying I was going to update everyone, but then it all kind of went a bit tits up. Once I got it put in my arm, everything kind of went wrong for a bit, and it's just been a bit of a touchy subject for a while now, so I've not really talked about it anywhere, but I have received a few messages over the past year asking how I've gotten on with it and if I'd recommend it. So I just thought I would do just a whole roundup of how I found the contraceptive implant. So I got it fit in December last year, so it's like 13 months ago. Obviously do your own research into like the general pros and cons, the procedure of how it's fit and how it's taken out of your arm, all of that stuff, because I'm not going to cover all of that in this video. It'll just be the longest video in the world, so I'm just going to go on my personal experience with it. Yeah, I had it fit in December. The procedure itself was fine, like I didn't really think about it too much beforehand. Obviously I'd had a baby like 8 months before, so having like a tiny cut in my arm wasn't really the end of the world. I used to be such a wimp with any kind of pain, like injections. I was so scared of needles, but yeah, once you have a baby you're kind of above all of that. So yeah, the procedure itself was fine. My arm did really hurt for like over a week afterwards, which I don't think they told me. I think they said it might be a little bit numb for a few days or something. I just remember like really not expecting it to hurt as much as it did, because it's in this arm and I couldn't even like lift my arm to do anything, which is really tricky when, like, at the time I had an almost 1-year-old, and at that age Remy still wanted to be picked up a lot, and like it was just really tricky of not being able to do a lot of stuff for like a week because my arm, like I really just couldn't use it. It was like quite bad, just achy, I would say. It wasn't like it hurt, it just ached. It was kind of like if you've maybe like pulled a muscle or something. When the pain went away, I would say after about 2 or 3 weeks, my brain just went off. I was all over the place. I think hormones affect me a lot, and I know they affect everyone. Like obviously there's loads of different types of hormones and they're, you know, they do affect your body because like science and stuff, but I just didn't really expect it to like mess with my head so much. And obviously I'd given birth the same year, and during pregnancy and labour and birth and the postnatal process you do have all kinds of increases and decreases in hormones, so your head's already kind of all over the place, which I think is why pre and postnatal depression are so prevalent, because a lot of it is like hormone influenced. I think mine was definitely. So I think because my hormones were already all over the shop, I was already having a lot of postnatal anxiety and I think depression. I'm pretty sure I had postnatal depression, and then it was sort of wearing off by the time it got to December. I was sort of feeling a bit better, and then I got the implant and I just went straight back down again. I was miserable, I was crying every single day. I just didn't see the point in life. Like, sorry, I've been filming for 5 minutes and I feel like I'm getting pretty deep already, but this was my like personal experience with it, so I just thought I'd be honest. So yeah, like I was just I just felt shit. I felt so shit all the time. I felt empty. I just felt, and also this potentially could have nothing to do with the implant. I'm pretty sure it was because of the implant, just timing wise, because after about 5 or 6 weeks of feeling this way it did ease off, so I think it was like my body getting used to the hormones. But yeah, during that time I was just really low. I didn't really see the point in my life, so not in a way that I would have, like, you know, I didn't have suicidal thoughts. It was more like I just didn't, everything I was doing I was just like, why though, like why am I doing that? And I felt, yeah, I just felt awful. I don't want to go too far into it because I just think depression or those kind of thoughts and feelings are really, really hard to put into words, and you can't ever really word it as intensely and as dramatic and as consuming as it feels at the time. But I just remember, yeah, I was crying a lot, and on a few occasions I was just really, really not myself. I remember sitting in the car just shouting at Danny, not like at him, but like it was almost, I can't even explain it. It was like I couldn't get my words. I was just like, I can't remember what I was saying, but I was saying the same thing over and over and over again, like the same phrase or something. And then I started punching my legs, I started punching my thighs really hard because I was getting really frustrated, and I was just pummeling my thighs until Danny, who was driving the car, literally had to grab my hands and like restrict me. And then yeah, in the same month I was like, I remember having another similar weird moment where I was like slamming all the kitchen doors. I think I like threw a knife. Yeah, just really, really not me. I mean, in general, I would say the 18 months from when I found out I was pregnant to like 18 months later, I do think I was just in a state of sort of consistently feeling very anxious and very low. But yeah, this month in particular, I just remember it was so heightened and it was so terrifying because at one point the only thing I could think to do was to move home. And by home I mean move to my mum's house. I remember just thinking, I'll just move there and then Danny can just have Remy and they'll just be like, they'll be fine, like they'll just be so much happier and better off without me. So like, I think that kind of explains it a bit more. I wasn't thinking like everyone would be better off without me if I were to, you know, end my life or anything like that. It was more like, maybe I'll just go away for a bit, or yeah, I don't really know what I was thinking at the time, but I remember just thinking I could just nip off to Nottingham and they'll be fine. And poor Danny, he was obviously just like, what the fuck is going on? And then we both in this conversation realised that all of this had kind of started around the time I got the implant fit. And then, you know, I just thought logically about it and like about all the hormones and the fact that your body's got to get used to it. And I was already not quite right in the head. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Maybe my body just isn't reacting well to the implant. We like drove to the doctors. It was a few days before Christmas and they were going to shut for Christmas. We drove and I was like holding back tears when I spoke to the receptionist, and I was just like, I got the implant fit here a few weeks ago and I need it taken out, like I need it taken out as soon as you can. And she was like, there's a waiting list, it'll be a few weeks, and obviously we're closed over Christmas so that might delay it a bit more. And I was like, no, you don't understand, like I need it taken out now. And she was just like, oh, okay, I'll see what we can do and we'll call you back. And I left and they never actually called me back, which is bad. But by the time the Christmas break was sort of over, I was starting to feel a bit better and it was starting to balance out a bit more, and I just generally felt happy to continue on the implant. Since then I've been pretty much fine, I would say. Obviously I've still got stuff I want to sort out in my own head, but I think that's like repressed trauma from all of my teenage years, and that's nothing to do with being a mum or any hormone shit. That's just life stuff. But yeah, that is what it did to my head. But what it did to my periods was quite good, because I've always had really heavy periods. I think I started my period really young. I'm sure I was like, maybe I'd have to ask my mum, but I'm sure I was in primary school. Literally from the first month, I've always had really heavy periods and they've lasted a really long time. So I'm generally on for about 8 to 10 days, buying like the Super Plus maxi pads and the Super Plus maxi tampons and stuff, just because, yeah, I would bleed a lot basically. They've eased off a little bit with age. I would say they started to chill out a bit and I started to get, I guess, like regular periods that were like 5 or 6 days, just a normal amount of blood. Since being on the implant, I didn't have a period for like 5 months, I think, and then since then I've just had 3. So over the course of 13 months I've had 3 periods, which is pretty good. 2 of them were like really close together, 2 of them were like 2 weeks apart. Not that bad, I would say. And also now when I get them, I used to get really bad period pains as well. I don't really get that anymore. I do get cramps, but it's just not at all like as bad as it used to be. So that's amazing, because I honestly thought I was gonna have awful periods for the rest of my life, but for the past year it's eased off, which is like great. That's like one less thing to worry about. And when I do get them, they last like 3 or 4 days, which is crazy. Like I used to be so jealous of people that had periods that lasted 3 or 4 days. I was just like, how are you so lucky? And now I'm one of them, so that's cool. I only had to go through a month of pure hell. I'm gonna carry on with it until I think it's 3 years that it lasts. So I'll probably carry on for the full 3 years, and then potentially, depending on the situation that we are in at the time, I think when I get it taken out, I'm just gonna leave it and not go on another contraceptive, and I'm just gonna see what happens. As in like, maybe have another baby. I don't know, we'll just see. We'll see if we have money at the time, because I would love another baby. So yeah, that's the plan. I think that's all I have to say about it. Like I said, if you want to do more research into the more general pros and cons, I don't know how often it is that people react the way I did to it. I don't know if it's because of the fact that my body was still recovering from having a baby, even though it had been 9 months, so you would think my body would have chilled out by then, but apparently not. But yeah, that's my experience with it. It's not at all to put you off, because I'm genuinely really glad that I went on it in the end. I mean, I'm glad we got through that month. I'm very grateful for Danny, because I think if it wasn't for Danny, that could have gone terribly wrong. But I think it was worth it in the sense that, like, I'm a lot happier now, and it was a really shitty month, but most months were really shitty back then. So I've gotten through that. Now I pretty much have no periods, and I'm not going to get pregnant when I can't afford to. So it's kind of like win-win-win with one lose. If you don't have a history of bad mental health, I'm sure you'll be fine. I think my body just fucking takes hormones and runs with them. Like, it does some crazy things. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there are any other questions you have about my experience. Let me know if there's any other videos you want me to do similar to this. I love sitting down and chatting about my experiences or opinions or stories. It's my favourite kind of video to make. Very self-indulgent, I'm aware, but I love it. So if there's anything else you want me to talk about, let me know. I'm filming a vegan Q&A this weekend. I think I've got all of my questions already, because I did ask on Instagram and I got like 50 questions. But if you do have any questions about anything to do with veganism, leave them below, and if they haven't already been asked, then I might add them into that video. And yeah, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more content, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!